Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show we'll have a talk about a Linux project, such as a Linux distribution, a desktop environment, an application. We also chat about any variety of topics from the World Wide Web. Anything that's Linux tech, anything that is Linux tech or open source is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project, which is why I like things green. And with me today, I got a fantastic collection of folk here on this panel. I've got Swift, Adam Grubbs. Is it Dr. Linux? I don't know. I can't read what that says. I should have asked. Terry, Colin, Eris, Jinda. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Doing good.
Good.
Fantastic. Yep. Well, be sure to do the straw poll. Although I couldn't do the straw poll. Is it closed, Eris? Did it close down on us?
Yeah, I messed up the time, but I did open it up again. I don't know why I added the other time. It was weird.
Yeah, well, these things happen. So I'm going to knock out that straw poll myself because I tried to a little bit earlier and I failed to get it done in time. So Eris is gracious enough to let me slide an extra credit, I suppose. Let's see. So on the docket for today, we've got it's an open mic night. We'll do that straw poll. Probably some housekeeping in there someplace. But first, what are we doing on Linux and tech? Jinda, since you were absent last week, you are on the hot seat. You said you've been doing some distro boxing. And, do you wear gloves for this?
Box. Well, I just wanted to try it out, and Adam Gross was nice enough to help me out with DistroBox. I used a program that I found on FlatHub. I think it's called Box Buddy.
Box Buddy.
Box Buddy. It helps you actually make your virtual boxes for you pretty much with a couple of clicks. And it also has a section in it to pass the programs over to your into your menu.
Oh, well, this is cool.
Yeah, it's called Box Buddy. I'll have to put a link for it in the chat because it's really kind of neat. I was happy with it. I used it a couple of times already, but then I actually learned how to work it because Adam says it was easy to do, and he was right. It is easy to do on the command line once you learn the commands.
Well, I'm slightly offended that Adam didn't share this Box Buddy thing with me. He just let me do it the command line way. But these things happen.
Well, that's what he wants you to do because that's the way he likes to do it, and I don't blame him.
That's good to know. And that looks like we got a special appearance. A wild Michael Tennell has appeared. That was a Pokemon reference. Yes, I'm a child. So welcome. Oh, you're still muted.
I was saying I was muted.
Oh, okay.
Hello, people.
Hello. Is DistroBox something you've used?
G'day, Michael.
Oh yeah, DistroBox is cool for a lot of reasons. I used it. One thing I used it for, which is actually kind of like nutty, is you could kind of make it work with applications that are not typically good for it. Good like let's say for example you have an application that is made for Linux, but they don't really put that much effort into it supporting Linux, and they only have it working on a particular distro and a particular version of that distro. You can use DistroBox to essentially create like a container thing to make it work. So for example, DaVinci Resolve does not love working on Linux if you have AMD hardware, specifically an AMD GPU. And if you installed it in Fedora, you can install it in a specific version of Fedora and have it inside the distro box, and then it will load like an application, even if you're not using that particular version of Fedora or Fedora at all. So that's my use case for it.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. So DaVinci Resolve works in DistroBox with a specific version of Fedora, and that's how you run it. So because of
if you have NVIDIA, then you could just install it probably.
Oh, okay. I wonder why that is.
Because DaVinci Blackmagic does not care at all about AMD, and they use the CUDA cores a lot for its rendering and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that's like the main reason, but also because for a long time, AMD was not good, you know, so they didn't bother. And now, you know, it's got the point where it's changed, but it's not even a good experience of AMD on Windows. So it's not with DaVinci Resolve.
It's not a Linux problem. It's a DaVinci Resolve problem.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it is technically possible, but it takes a lot of effort to get everything working if you have AMD.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. So, Jinda, was there a use case that you were going after? Or you just dabbling around, playing, and trying to have some fun with it?
The 100%, yeah. Just playing around. I have no use for it whatsoever, except that it's awesome, and I have been using it a lot lately just to install random things, just to watch them work and watch them go away faster than I put them in.
Is this a bit like GNOME boxes or something, is it?
It's
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. You have a terminal. You can run it in a terminal, or you can run this program called Box Buddy, and you can open it up and say you want Fedora, whatever version, or in Ubuntu, and et cetera, Arch, or whatever it is, and launch in the terminal a exact copy of the terminal that would have been in that distro. So you can run your DNF, like a Fedora, and run in a Fedora application and install it. You can also point that to put it in your menu to run as, when you click in your start menu or something and launch it as a regular program. And then you can instantly just make it all go away within a click.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I was thinking about playing with distro boxes in such a way where I basically have a distro box of OpenSUSE Tumbleweed where I put all my play software in there so that I'm not cluttering up my core system, so I can keep my base system a little bit less filled with a bunch of garbage. I guess is kind of where I'm looking at doing that. But I have like an Ubuntu and a Fedora distro box and a Debian one as well, just because I was playing with stuff.
Right.
And it doesn't take up that much disk space either. The distro
it doesn't use any RAM either.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Which I don't understand how it works if it's not using any RAM.
I honestly don't understand how it works either. It's some kind of like black magic, I think. Not to bring DaVinci Resolve back into it, but
so it's not fully virtualization. That's the issue. Like the difference between when you compare GNOME boxes, which is a full virtualization system, you're trying to run an entire system on top of another system. Whereas container is a similar thing, but you're not doing the whole system. You're doing pieces and components and like core base stuff. So you can make it a lot less problematic because it doesn't actually have to have the whole thing running. You can do a stripped down, bare bones, just the minimum thing you can do, and that's why like Docker stuff is so popular, is because they're doing a similar thing. It's just self-contained. It's still virtualization, but it's done in a much more simplistic skeleton style.
So it's more containerized, not so much because there's not really that compatibility, that really layer.
The problem is that containerization and containerized is a term that is like very keyword buzzword type thing. They are the same thing. They are the same. Like it's technically virtualization, but it's done in a different way. So instead of saying it's a virtual machine, it's not. It's more virtual components in a self-contained package. Like that's more what containers are.
Okay.
So
what's the performance penalty then?
Still technically the same. The performance penalty for a virtual machine is because it's running everything.
Right.
The UI, the all the GUI stuff, the full
graphics,
kernel, the full graphics stack, everything. And whereas the container is using only what it needs to use, and that's it. So in a case of DistroBox, it's using whatever distro you pick. It's using the core running stuff, like it's running systemd and it's running the kernel and it's running things like that. But it doesn't have to run the GUI because it's only going to load up the terminal anyway. So you don't have to worry about anything else. So it doesn't even have to be a full like terminal emulator. It doesn't have to be a GUI emulator. It could just be a basic prompt. So they can lower that. And that's a similar thing to what Alpine Linux does. So like Alpine is effectively a Linux distro made to be a containerized core. So it's not even meant to be used outside of containers. You can technically, but its purpose was made to be like super lean, embedded container style. So it's basically ripping out everything that is not necessary beyond running the thing you want to run.
So how does that compare to Chroot and sandboxing?
It's a very different thing. So depends on like how you want to implement that, right? So I say Chroot. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be. Chroot and sandboxing is more of like a isolation of permissions and access. It's not necessarily, there's no emulation or virtualization happening in those things, and not necessarily. You could do it, but not necessarily. So it's more of like isolating the components to themselves. So like, for example, have y'all used, what's that? Hold on. The crazy distribution that has everything, and it's been around for years, and it's like, I can't remember what it's called, but it starts with, no, Endless doesn't have any, like it's very stripped down.
Bedrock Linux?
Bedrock. That's it. Yes. Bedrock. Bedrock uses, the reason why I was bringing it up is because it uses Chroots to create its system. So it's sandboxing, but it's not necessarily sandboxing. It's creating everything with Chroots to be in its own separate containing section. So you can grab from any section to install whatever application on whatever distro core you want, but it's not virtualization, and it's not necessarily containerization, because that didn't actually exist prior to Bedrock. So Bedrock did its own custom thing, which maybe even inspired some people to build certain stuff, whatever. But it's kind of creating like a box in a corner for, Ubuntu, and a box in a corner for Fedora and that sort of stuff. Which is also why Bedrock is, once you have it fully set up, it's a pretty big distro to have installed, because it's going to have a duplication of a bunch of stuff in order to make all that work together.
That's pretty wild. I guess it's the moment I thought I understood it. I guess now I don't. So now I have to go back to school. So thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
You messed up my week.
I'm here for you, buddy.
So much appreciated.
Containers are the future of Linux.
So it's funny, because containerization is incredibly useful, and I've been doing it like a lot. And I get into these certain pieces where I feel like, yeah, I get this, I understand it now. And then I add another component to that equation, and I feel like I have no idea what's going on. Like the first time I looked at Kubernetes, for example, I was like, what is this? And it's for like a very 1,000-foot overview. For those that don't know, Kubernetes is basically a virtualization and containerization orchestrator. So basically, if you wanted to deploy 7,000 different virtual machines across 150 machines or whatever, that's what Kubernetes does. Like, it manages all of that.
That's pretty wild.
Is that done online? Is Kubernetes and Docker, are they all done online? They're not local on the computer. Would that be right?
No, they are local. They are local.
Oh, they are local. Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing about those things.
They don't have to be. The thing is like the containerization technology is very powerful, because it can be local and it can be online. It can be cloud-based stuff. Like, for example, the Tux Digital forum, tuxdigital.com/forum. Quick plug. I have to do that, by the way. That forum is powered by a Docker container. It's a Docker image. So, and that image is on a DigitalOcean droplet. So when I go into the administration on the DigitalOcean, I'm not really using the Linux part. I am updating the Linux part, and you still have to maintain the Linux system. But I'm not really, when I'm updating the system of the forum, I'm not dealing with any of the actual core system. I'm using the Docker container and the Docker image to update itself. And I have to go inside of the Docker image, then update it in order to make it do what I need it to do. And that's so that they could bundle a bunch of stuff and not really have to worry about which distro you're using.
Right.
It's kind of like early stage server oriented Flatpak. You know, they're very similar, except for Flatpaks are more like tailored specifically for the Linux desktop, and Docker images are more just throw it all in there kind of thing.
Yeah, that's. I've been looking at a lot of containerized solutions for enterprise use. I'm a little bit unhappy with VMware as of late. So because the change with Broadcom and everything else, I'm sure you're well aware of all.
Yeah, VMware got bought and started ruining everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at,
which is shocking because VMware decided to ruin itself first before VirtualBox, because Oracle is known for ruining things, and I'm like, wow, how did that happen?
Well, okay. In all fairness, could Oracle have ruined VirtualBox any more than it is?
They own it, so yeah, they could kill it.
Yeah,
they could just destroy it if they wanted to. They run it, they develop it, they could do whatever they wanted.
Actually, somebody's got a backend for VirtualBox to be KVM. They're going to use the graphic user interface. Yeah, they're going to use the graphic interface from VirtualBox and KVM in the back end. I posted it, I think, in the chat.
Oh, that's cool.
It looks. I don't know if it works yet, but I haven't tried it yet. But it looks pretty cool.
You could just use Cockpit or Virt Manager for that.
Yeah,
I guess.
Interesting.
So I was looking at like Proxmox and Rancher as alternatives to like multi-system deployments of things. I've also played with using KVM on multiple systems as well. I think it's configured incorrectly on the host, so I couldn't actually migrate migrate the guest from one to the other. I said, yes, be unsafe. Go ahead and migrate everything while it's running, and it just said it wouldn't let me migrate. So, but it should be some other things that it just didn't like. But anyway, so it's just. I need to work some of that stuff out because I think I'm currently displeased with VMware. So, but I mean, if VMware chooses or Broadcom chooses to sponsor Linux Saloon, I will definitely change my tune. Just
I'm using KVM, and I never thought I'd use it this long, but it's actually a bit more simple than what I thought. The only hurdle I had to get over was how to share files, which once you know is pretty easy. But KVM and QEMU, which is an emu with a Q.
I have no idea how no one's ever expressed how to say it, but I've heard people say QEMU, QEMU, just QEMU.
That's how I say it,
and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I think QM. We should decide it here how to say it. QEMU. What would be a very Aussie? Would be a very Aussie thing to say.
QEMU. I don't know.
There used to be a great series on YouTube. There used to be a great series on YouTube about how to pronounce things in Linux.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was a really popular one. And
I know where you're going. This is like, oh yeah. I need that. Yeah.
This is Aris's next straw poll.
See, the problem is that I also got like a lot of comments about people telling me I'm wrong when I'm clearly not wrong. It doesn't matter. So it was just like the vast majority of the comments were just people saying you're wrong and trying to have this massive debate with me. It's like, I'm okay. Like the best one was SUSE. There was like this thread where someone was like trying to debate me that I was wrong. And like, I'm literally including a video from SUSE saying it as SUSE. How could I be wrong? And they still insisted. Like, okay, never mind.
It's kind of like the that individual in the classroom that is just so obtusely ignorant and refuses to just, the book says this, it's right here. No, it's wrong. You know, it's one of those like, this is the answer. 2 + 2 = 4. No, it doesn't. It's 2.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. Yeah.
But also, just speaking of which, we're talking about stuff that's named with a Q. You ever notice that the word queue, as in, you know, standing in line, has 4 silent letters, right? It's because they're all waiting in line to be useful.
Boom. Hot dog.
Dad joke, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I always thought open source was pronounced Seuss. Oops.
It's a Susa, I guess.
Susa.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I want to say, Christopher,
Susie.
welcome.
Susa.
We haven't seen your face before, and I appreciate you being here. So welcome. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, welcome, Chris.
Linux Saloon is open to everybody. So
this box buddy,
Eris,
I might give this a go.
The video.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, Colin.
I might give this box buddy a go. Looks
Yeah, I didn't know about
Might
this.
be worth trying.
I definitely want to give this a try too.
It works very well.
That's neat. I like the little bit of graphical hand holding is good for a man of my advanced age.
Yeah, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad.
So, well, excellent.
That's true for everything. Really.
Yeah.
So this week, Nate, I just wanted to let you know.
Yes.
I've been making use of some of Eric Dubois' videos because, as you well know, I've been creating my own ISOs with Easy Archer, but unfortunately, Esnix doesn't do GNOME. He dropped the GNOME one. So I thought I would delve into some of Eric's videos and learn how to do the ELSI, which is the what's it called? The Arch Linux Calamares installer. That's his ELSI program. It's actually I don't need to do anything in VirtualBox. I can do it all on the system, and I've started sort of swapping out, just changing package files for desktops only, and all I have to do is swap that package file out, and I can just run it again and create a distro with that whichever desktop I want. So I'm doing that. I've done a Cinnamon one, which is working quite well. So I'm pretty happy with that. So Eric, and he teaches you how to have your own local repository. So you can have your own local repository online. So I've been learning a lot about how Arch works and how you can get all these .zst files and whatever that link to your own repository. So I've managed to do that. Took me a little while. I had to watch his videos because he is all over the place sometimes, Eric, but he's very knowledgeable, but he can be a little bit all over the place. So you've got to really take note of where his files are, where he's coming from, and he has some good projects, and that one is a good one. So I like that. Elsie.
That's cool. I mean, you're doing like you're definitely not doing Linux 101 at this point there, Colin. You're definitely at least at the 200 series class here.
I'm going for maybe 700.
Yeah, probably.
No, I'm just learning. I just find it interesting to learn that sort of stuff. But I can only learn things if I do things. If I read, I probably won't hold it in place. But if I do it, I'll learn it. And that's the way I've always learned in life. So visual and doing, you know. So that's just the way my brain works anyway. So
almost like you're a kinetic learner.
Pretty much,
yeah. That's cool. Well, I also want to welcome Vince and Ricky. Did I welcome you guys already? Not sure if I did. But anyway.
Hi, Ricky.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. I like more faces. And less me talk time is actually the ideal. So let's go with that.
I'll gladly help with that.
Perfect. So Eris does a great job of putting together a straw poll every week, and this week he put together yet another straw poll about new software releases. Does it cause you to question your current workflow? And if you have not yet voted in that straw poll, you can go ahead and knock that out post haste, if you would. and we can chat about that.
I voted.
You goaded or voted?
So this poll was actually Eric's idea.
Okay.
Credit goes to Eric for this poll. And the question is, Plasma 6 and an upcoming Cosmic desktop will surely bring new workflows to the Linux desktop. Are you looking forward to them? Is your workflow unchangeable? Do new software releases cause you to question your current workflow and perhaps consider changing it? Or is your workflow set in stone?
Okay, so this is a bit of a weighted question because the question is about software releases and then it asks about desktop environment releases. That's a much bigger difference of a question. If I see a new release of a desktop environment, am I quick to jump on it? Well, maybe. Do I see a new version of my text editor? Do I bother updating? Yeah, sure. Anyway, who cares? It's probably a bug fix or something. Like, yeah, sure. There's a little bit, those are two different questions. Those should be separated, in my opinion. Because the way I answered it, I completely didn't even see the Plasma 6 Cosmic part. I just saw the big question at the top, completely ignored the next part, and then answered the question. So I think my question might be.
It could also work for applications. Like LibreOffice tries to change things from now and then. Like people wanted to switch over to the ribbon, even though they haven't, and maybe they won't ever. I don't know. So I think it just works in general for the software in general.
I think it's weighted too much. I think that like with the desktop environment, it's harder to convince you, right? Because I mean, history proves that the desktop environment changes are not seamless. GNOME 2 to GNOME 3 was a horrendous nightmare.
Horrendously smooth. 3 to 4 Plasma,
nightmare, sure.
Smooth nightmare, yeah. Plasma
4 to 5 was a nightmare. Plasma 5 to 6, they have said they learned their lesson and that it will probably not be as bad. But there will be some learning curves. There will be some big changes because some people are going to not like the fact that double click is by default. It should be, but some people are not going to like that part, right? And so that's going to be an issue people are going to deal with. But then you have like GNOME 3.38 switching to 40. That was actually not a bad transition. Like they kind of handled it pretty good. Like it was a big change and the workflow completely changed and people didn't like that. So then people were like trying to keep 3.38 going and stuff. Like even though it wasn't like a problematic technological thing, the workflow was so different. That's why I'm saying the desktop environment, these are going to be like Plasma 5 to Plasma 6 the workflow won't be that much different because Plasma doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cosmic, yeah, I'm going to try it, but it's going to be completely different and I might just play with it rather than switch to it. Whereas I have most of my applications set up to auto install updates. Like I don't care about that part.
So I'm going to say a few replies first, just to give anybody who hasn't voted a little more time. The first reply I got was, "That's a tough one for me to answer. My workflow is pretty set in stone, but I'm not completely closed off to improving it. But I am not at all that open either." And then somebody else said, "I'm usually happy to see updates, but when it's paradigm change that removes the distinguishing characteristic, which is why I'm using the app. Yes, I am looking at you, K9 Mail. I had to fork it and sign it myself so I could keep running the last proper version with multiple account display. Not that I'm better." And the final response I got reply was, "I like to have new options, but if I don't like the new flow, I want to be able to go back to what I had. I am also never fully satisfied. I am constantly tweaking." And
that's the tinker mentality.
So the number one answer was, "I look forward to every new release for any improvements to my workflow." 35%. followed by 35%, so they're tied. I'm open to any improvements, but I don't usually look for them. And that's followed by nope. My workflow is set in stone, 10%. 10% also for indifferent, 5% for other, and 5% for Tux Penguin.
I love when Tux Penguin gets a vote. Sometimes I think I just vote Tux just because.
Yeah, if you don't have any else thing to vote, you might as well just cast a vote for Tux Penguin.
It's like voting for nobody. I'd rather have nobody than you. Yeah, I'm constantly tweaking my desktop. Like I'm never like fully satisfied. So I'm always looking for something else. I don't know if anyone else is like that here, but some things I have pretty much set in stone. Like what I like. I like my bar on the bottom. Cause like when I need to look for something, I always look down. I always also like my bar only on one screen. I don't like it on multiple, and it's always got to be on the bottom center screen. I also like my CPUs, like what my CPUs are doing and my RAM. I like to see that. And I want my clock in 24-hour format with the day, month, year. So like 10 Feb 2024. That's how I like to see things. I am flexible on everything else, whether it's the long, like for the task manager, ever since Windows 7, I guess, or was it Vista 7, everything went to just like icon only. I remember that transition happened. I don't know, was it like 8 years ago? I don't know. And so I kind of go for that now just because it's default, but I don't really care. I can go back and forth on that one. But yeah, so but other things I like to change. Like I've been back and forth between Firefox and Chromium. Because there's, sometimes I want a certain way of doing things and sometimes I want another way of doing things, and I'm never really satisfied, so I bounce around. But if I'm watching YouTube is best on Firefox, for sure.
That's interesting.
Well, why do you say that? That's interesting.
Because it's the only browser you can pop it out, put it in the corner, put it on all desktops, and keep it above others, and then I can do whatever I need to do, and it's right there in the corner. So I'm shifting around. Only you can do that in Firefox. So Chrome basically.
You can do Chrome has picture-in-picture. You can do that.
Sure, but you can't pop it out and have a nice little window in the corner.
Sure you can.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I've
you
tried.
Right-click the video. It says picture-in-picture, and you can even like resize it, move it around. I mean, you can't.
And that's built in. And that's built in, or is that an extension?
I think the pop out is, it's definitely built in. I don't know how well it works in anything other than Plasma, because the resizing and moving around I'm doing that through Plasma. But the pop out, yeah, I've done that many times. Every time we do an episode of DL, I like when we use this service called Zencaster, which is really cool, and it works pretty well. And my video is put in this little tiny box on the corner, and I can't see, and I like to see like, is my framing properly, and everything's good. So I always pop it out in the picture-in-picture and move it over to where on my other monitor. So not the full screen, but just put it in a little corner, so I can have like a similar size of my video, because they don't give you an option to actually control the size. But there's, I've noticed something is that when I right-click the video, it gives me a bunch of options that are not relevant to what I want. And then I right-click again, and it gives me picture-in-picture as a pop-out. But I will say that Firefox's way of popping out is much better.
Interesting.
Did you try it, Nate?
Yeah, so I right-clicked, I'm like, Michael is full of dookie. And then when he said, do it again, oh, okay, no, I see it now.
It is weird that it does that, but it's it consistently requires the second right click. I don't know why.
So here's what's weird. Well, maybe it's, I don't know.
It's a bug that became a feature.
All right, so it does automatically keep above others, and I can say, oh, I can actually have it on all desktops too. Look at that. Paint me green and call me Gumby.
All desktop. Well, that part is so okay. First of all, I just wanted to give this information I actually still like Firefox more, just to be clear. But some websites require you to have Chrome because we're back in the 1994 with Internet Explorer, best used Internet Explorer nonsense crap happening. Anyway, so there isn't a time where you have to, but the way it works in Firefox is so much easier. It's a little pop-up icon. You just click it, and that's it. You're done. But the way you're doing the whole all desktops and all workspace or whatever, that's just Plasma doing it. So like like Firefox has a way to like more controls to the pop out than the Chrome one. The Chrome one is just like it just gives you the video. That's
Right.
it. So if you're using something that's not as good as Plasma, you should be using Plasma, and or maybe there's an extension or something.
Yeah, maybe. But well, that's nice to know. But I don't have Plasma integration in Chromium. I only have it in Firefox, so I'm not going to go to the trouble of doing all that with Chromium.
Good. I didn't ruin anything. Good.
No,
Good.
you didn't. But actually, it's nice to know because
Cool.
there's some other features for that. So all my work stuff that I do is all in Microsoft Edge. I do all that because then I can have it log into my Microsoft account. I'm embarrassed. I'm admitting I have all that stuff, and so I can keep all my work stuff.
I mean, you probably have it for work, right?
Yeah, it's for work.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So and then Firefox is basically everything that is me / Cubicle Nate related. And then I use Junction, which I think I've talked about this before, but Junction is an app. It's a Flatpak. So when I open up something like out of Outlook, I can then have it go to, if it's like, oh, I want to look at this for me personally because this is more relevant for something I want to research later. So I can kick it off to Firefox. If it's working late, I kick it off to Edge or open it up in Teams for Linux or whatever, and then it all kind of integrates nicely together that way. This way I can choose my adventure. Like the old Choose Your Own Adventure books. I like that. Makes it nice. So
I use KeyPass, and I put a little command to open Firefox or Google Chrome in private mode. So when I click on the link, it automatically opens up in private mode. So that's how I use that.
That's very cool.
KeyPass is actually, Colin, my favorite password / OTP manager. I love that program to death.
So do I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you choose that over Bitwarden or over Proton Pass?
Main reason it's for simplicity's sake, and plus, I mean, I've been using KeyPass XE for many years, so it's just something I've been working with for the longest time.
Okay, so
I use it
pre-existing workflow.
Pardon?
Not for me.
Pre-existing workflow is the reason. Okay. Colin, what's yours?
I like the fact that it's got a local file. I can look at my passwords whenever I want. So I can move the actual local file over to Android as well, because that uses KeyPass to Android, I think it is. So it works well on the phone as well. Not so much on the Samsung, but on the Oppo it works really well. But it just does everything I need. I can manipulate everything I need to, and I can keep that file wherever I want. And I'm not a big fan of having these generated passwords. So I tend to put everything. Well, you can do it in KeyPass as well. You can generate a password as long as you. With mine, I use my own passwords in KeyPass. I use all my own passwords. I change them up, but I use my own passwords. But I also have them written down in a book. So if something goes terribly wrong with KeyPass and I forget the password, at least I've still got my passwords. They're not generated with some massive long number. Otherwise, you'd have to go, change my password and go through all that sort of stuff. So that's the reason why I use it. It's all, I can do things myself. I'm not reliant on anyone else, and that's the way I like to live my life, to be honest. So they're my reasons.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I respect it. The level of effort you put into it. I mean, I respect it. I am much too lazy for that.
For Android, I use KeyPass DX.
All of Colin's
Yeah,
passwords.
the reason.
All of Colin's
What, Chris?
passwords are password 1234. I'm just kidding.
I'm sure he has at least. He probably has at least 4 variations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I go up to 9. I go up to 9. You know, I'm flexible.
Yeah.
Every 90 days, he changes it from like 1, 2 to 2, 3. Maybe adds an exclamation point in there somewhere, or maybe like an asterisk. You know, keep it spicy.
This is actually funny.
Yeah.
This is funny because there was the 23andMe hack that happened a few months ago.
No.
I
haven't heard of that.
Are you aware of that? Oh, so 23andMe got hacked. Lots of people's data's out there. So technically, only like anywhere between 6,000 to 11,000, maybe 14,000 accounts were hacked. But they got 6 million people's data at one point, and it's all because of the relative system. So if you were connected to someone else, you also got their data. So out of those 14,000 people, they got people connected. It was like a dependency system. You know, this person was connected to this person, that's connected to this person, and like they got like a lot of people's data. And they found out the reason was because people just had terrible passwords, which you would assume that they'd have some kind of mechanism to take care of that. Because the data of your credit card, annoying, but you can just cancel it and restart your credit card. You can't do that with your DNA sequence. So like, this is insane that you don't have this thing. So this security guy just did a test, and he was like, all right, how bad of a password can I get them to let me get through? So he put password with the A being the @ symbol, and then like 1, and it worked. It's like, okay, that's not good, but maybe we can do worse. And he said, okay, I'm just going to try the word password. Nope, they blocked it. Okay, great. At least they're not that dumb. But he tried password, and it worked. And like, okay, they are that dumb. It just so it's a little bit of a.
My most common used password is incorrect. Have you heard that one? My most common used password is incorrect, because if you get it wrong, it'll tell you your password is incorrect.
I like it.
I like it.
That's fantastic, actually.
But so I don't want you to tell me your system of how you pick passwords, but do you have like very long passwords that you're keeping, or like for someone who's doing that much effort, I feel like you have to have some kind of system to build out these passwords. My question is, do you have a system of some sort that you don't have? Just yes or no is enough. I don't need details.
Yeah, sort of.
No.
I like to change it up a bit sometimes, but there is some kind of system, but I do also change it up. So I think
that's good. Having a system that you modify is also good. I was just wondering, like, how do you keep track of it in a sense of like for me, I don't like making up my own passwords because I don't want to, and that's why I use a password manager, so I don't have to.
Basically, my system is just very simple. When I'm inside KeyPass XC, I just pretty much make up my own passwords with a password generator, but I make sure every password I make is 15 characters long.
Well, you shouldn't tell us that.
I mean,
no,
15.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
tell
you should
people
say
that.
15 plus.
Yeah, 15 plus.
But
So
also, I mean, the bigger the better.
Mm-hmm.
So all of Ricky's. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead,
one of the main reasons why I chose 15 characters long passwords is, I mean, and I've had a password compromise in the past, and I just don't want to take any chances.
Right.
I mean, my passwords are like anywhere between 20 characters to 150 characters.
Yeah, I know all about your passwords, Michael.
Yeah, my
I've heard
system. If someone breaks my system, that will be impressive because it is random gibberish combined with actual words that mean nothing. It's like passphrasing, but also it could be any massive number of characters. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what most of my passwords are, and I treat that as like a badge of honor. I don't know if they are.
Wow.
What do you got there, Eris?
So I just gotta mention that around like maybe 10 to 15 years ago, there was this bank, a national bank, that limited you to 12 characters or something like that. They would not allow you
Oh
to set
yeah,
a password
they still
higher
do
than
that.
that because
They
they
do
st
that.
that bank still does that.
I don't know if it's that bank, but I know some banks that still do that.
Because they don't want the customer request to change passwords and they reset the password, so they limit you to 12 characters. It must be no more than 12 characters.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I find like I do like silly nonsense in my like phrases in my head. That's how I remember things, and so it's just like or something that's maybe like a little bit like insulting toward me too. So it makes me laugh, and that's how I remember my passwords. So
Mine is all Bitwarden, and it's like 30 characters. So I have no clue what they are.
I like that. I like that.
yeah,
And then
I
I
do that
forget
too.
them.
I use Bitwarden as well. So when I reset people's passwords at work, I'll do the password generator on Bitwarden a few times until it's something that I can makes me laugh a little bit because they'll have like weird word phrases, and usually if it can be slightly insulting to the people who need the new password too, that also helps. And but I have a company
like
culture that is amused by that. So
I like that.
yeah.
The password generator thing is like, just save it. Like anytime I talk to people, I was doing some like troubleshoot for a client recently. It's like it's a client that I've had for a long time, and they insist that I do it, even though I don't want to do it, and I've told them that. They're like, "We'll pay you more." I'm like, well, I can't argue with that. Then there's so then like they asked me recently, like, okay, how do I do this thing? I'm like, first we got to get into this one service that you're using. And well, can you just send me the password? And they're like, yeah, okay. And they send me a screenshot of the password, which is not great, but whatever. They did it through at least Signal. So I see the password. I'm like, are you serious? Like this literally has the brand of your company in the password. So it doesn't matter how long the characters are. All of that, the name of your company, that's instant. They're just going to put that in automatically. So you really only have 5 characters that they need to break through. This is awful. And on the bright side, at least they listened and changed the password. So, and they did adopt a password manager, but convincing people to adopt a password manager is a lot harder than it should be. But I also get in a way that why, because it's like the barrier to entry to get a password manager is a lot more than just having one password for everything.
Well, this is an interesting topic because I mean we always talk about people are not tech savvy to move to Linux and all this sort of stuff that we talk about now. But you got people using mobile phones that have no idea how to manage passwords, and they probably use the same password because they're not tech savvy, right? And everywhere now is relying on passwords this long and two-step authentication and all this sort of thing. And I think people find it very difficult from what I've seen. And, parts of my family are the same. I mean, they struggle with passwords. It's because we're all connected to the tech world now, and everything you do requires a password. I mean, People just cannot comprehend how to change that up, and I can understand that because it's quite daunting to try and remember all these passwords with your utility bills and you're logging into this and logging into that and your phone and all that. It's scary for a lot of people, to be honest.
It is. It's understandable that people don't want to do it because this is so much effort. But like,
Yeah.
so here's the question: how many of those people who have fear of passwords or lack of willingness, how many of those people are Android users versus iPhone users?
Android.
Probably Android, yeah.
Well,
I
iPhone
think
takes
most
care of it,
Android.
right? Does an iPhone have like a key manager?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
This is the reason.
a lot
A
of
lot
people
of
use
people
Chrome
get
for that. A lot of people just
yeah, also
sign into
Chrome.
Chrome,
Yeah.
and they just let
Yeah.
Chrome handle everything.
Yeah.
Which is terrible because I'm pretty sure Chrome still does plain text. Last time I checked, Chrome's passwords were plain text, but then maybe they fixed it. But it's interesting because the reason I was asking is I switched to iPhone last year after more than a decade, obviously, of using Android. And every time I've told people, like, how could you do this? You're using an iPhone. That's so anti like tech enthusiast or whatever. Like or even people have told me
anti-freedom, maybe.
yeah, or anti Linux or whatever. And or anti open source, and it's like, well, Android's not really open source. Like and the answer it's funny to me.
It's open-ish.
Because
Open-ish source.
it's not. Everything that's valuable and open and so but what the reason it's funny to me is because the whole reason that not whole reason, I guess, one of the main 5 reasons that people leave Windows to Linux is privacy and how much data is being garbled up by Windows, right? But Android is exactly the same thing. In fact, it's worse. It's much worse because it gets your GPS information. It gets like Google, what, 2 years ago said, we're not going to be scanning all your email anymore, which just means they admitted for 15 years they were scanning all of your email. Like, then taking it, like, yeah, of course they are. And then you have all these things on Android where they give your data to like everyone. You know, any app that requests it's like, yep, sure. And they don't give you an option to choose different pieces and stuff. Like they eventually started adding things like that, but it took a long time. But the iPhone is actually the better choice in terms of privacy. Is it the greatest privacy thing? No, not at all. If you want that, you get something like Graphene OS or EOS or something like that. It's built on Android, but then takes all of the nonsense out. If you want to do that, absolutely good. It's a good choice. Much better for privacy. But if you're
Michael,
the type
you
who
forget
doesn't
that
want
it's
to
a
go,
religion. It's not about the actual better solution. It's about the
yeah,
religious
of course.
argument.
But I'm saying like my argument here is for people who are technology focused. If you want to get people to do the right thing that are not tech savvy, like your friends or your family and people who do not care, make them get an iPhone. Like just say Android is the worst for them. It's good for tech people who can turn all that crap off and modify it and right, but it's terrible for the people who are just, they just want to get it and get it out of the way. I've seen people be okay with Android because of they just don't know how to fix it and expect it to be normal for one of these like nonsense, terrible, junky $50 phones for Android that have ads pop up just randomly and taking over their entire screen, and they accept it as if it's normal because they don't know tech that much, right?
Michael,
So like if you want to make it easier,
Michael, it really is about like just the people, the way they perceive themselves and the way they are perceived. So if they have family members that use iPhone, how dare they? Like, I can't be around people who use an iPhone. It's not Linux. Everything has to
That's
be
true.
Linux. How can I possibly exist around people who don't use Linux?
Can I just throw in there?
That's understandable.
I just wanna say-
I mean, that's a good point. I mean,
I hate Android equally to iPhone. Like I think they're all garbage. So that's my. So it's like one is maybe like
Agreed.
slightly better than the other, but to me they're just so low on the like enjoyment of use that I just don't care. Like I lose my phone on a regular basis, and sometimes it's on purpose.
I'm gonna have to weigh in here as well, like
It's not
because a lot of the data collection that we talk about is interminably mixed with funding models for services that we all enjoy and use, right? So the alternative is we all pay for these things.
I'm okay with that.
Is that something that we're happy with?
I-
That would be the more pertinent question to ask, I think, because
100%.
you either sell your data, by way of it being almost involuntarily collected, or you pay for things. I think
Which immediately removes people of lesser class from the internet. The people who
That's
can't
true.
afford to pay. It removes developing nations almost entirely, right?
That's true.
It does.
But
Yeah.
what's
I
the
mean,
option if
where-
you do pay anyway? What's the options if you do pay? I mean, you can't have an Android phone without logging in with Google, right? You need a Google account.
So the alternative there, as Michael pointed out, is iPhone. So you pay more for the iPhone because
well,
You pay
yeah.
more for the iPhone. You actually
I
don't
wouldn't-
pay that much more.
yeah,
depending on-
that is true.
That's very true.
So
Yeah.
when
That's
you
true.
buy
Ooh,
$250 Motorola phones,
Here's the option. Here's the solution. You buy a Librem 5, pay more money than it's worth, and it's a terrible device, and you hate it. But you
But
have
it doesn't-
privacy
but
because
does
it
it
doesn't
smell-
work with
Yeah,
anything.
I've got $2,000 burning a hole in my pocket.
But when it gets to me, does it
Yeah.
smell like Lunduke? That's what I want. That's what I want.
No, it probably smells
Google
like
Pixel
a
3.
it
Google
probably
Pixel
smells
3
like a
UV ports.
short-circuited device. UV port. I mean, yeah. If you
It
get
smells like sweat and guilt.
if you get Ubuntu Touch, EOS, Graphene OS, like all of these types of things that are made to be privacy focused, and you get it on a device, yeah, you're going to have a better experience. And the EOS, by the way, we got the EOS on a Fairphone from Marina, because Marina makes EOS. Well, not really, but kind of yes. There's this, that whole foundation versus company thing. But anyway, they sell phones with EOS on it, and EOS is very nice. It's easy to use. It looks nice. It feels like an Apple in a way, and it lets you have access to Android apps too through the Google Play Store and other stores. And it doesn't do everything right that these other devices do, but it does most, at least, I mean, like 95% of what you want to do. Like, I couldn't guarantee everything, but like, if someone cares about privacy to the degree that they will use an alternative OS, it's pretty good, because it is still Android technically. It's just a modified, better version. But it also does require you to get a specific phone that has support for it, or buy a new phone for it that already has it, and that sort of thing. So you're limited in those kinds of choices. So it just depends on like what degree do you want it. Or like Graphene OS, you have to have a Google Pixel phone for the Graphene, and et cetera. So it just whichever one you want to choose, you're going to be limited in some way. Whereas it's also true for Apple. You're going to be limited because you can only get like one device, right? But it's interesting because I used to be an anti-Apple person a long time ago, right? When they first came out, I did have an iPhone in the early days. I had the second one.
Same here. Actually,
3G.
I had the first one and the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
I think
too.
I had the second or the third. 3G and 3. I had a 3G and a 3GS. I don't know which one that was. I think that was the second and third. But those at the time, it was revolutionary, so we really didn't have a reason not to get those, right? But then they started becoming like more and more awful, and then you get to the point where you kind of look at them as being like, oh, they're like the enemy, And then you look at Google as like this. For a long time, they always were like, well, we're here to be on your side. We literally have a slogan of "Don't be evil." and then
And they quietly got
all
rid
of a
of
sudden
it.
they don't have that slogan anymore, and they start doing stuff that's completely unacceptable, and then they start taking all their open source stuff and then putting it behind paywalls and locking it down, and we're like, well, yeah, we're technically open source still, but all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of gets to the point where if you only have these two options as phones, which is, by the way, why I'm so sad and will forever be sad that Palm lost WebOS,
Yep.
because it was awesome. Anyway, if we only have these two options, like these two mainstream options of Android and iOS, the iPhone is the better option for most people because it takes care of things that matter in terms of privacy and security better for the person who doesn't know how to do anything. Like if you want to go through the whole process of doing all sorts of stuff, Android will let you do a lot more. But the password system, when you go to an app and you sign up and it asks for a password, the iPhone's password managers thing just pops up and says, "Hey, you want to put a password in?" And if you're doing it for someone who doesn't know any better, that's actually a good way to do it, because I can't guarantee it because I haven't tested this, but supposedly the passwords are stored on their device and encrypted on their cloud if it is uploaded, if they do sync it. So in order to get to access to the password, you have to have your Face ID on it and stuff like that. And the Face ID is locally stored on your phone and all these different other things. Whereas, I mean, I would be shocked if Google's face recognition system is not in the cloud and not stored places, and they're not taking that and selling the data anywhere. I'd be shocked if they weren't doing that. It's just, anyway, so I can end the rambling. I just think that as unfortunate as it is, and as terrible as Apple is, and things that they do, they do make good devices, and they are probably better for the average person.
Yeah, it could be.
I was just going to say, I did the opposite in September. I went from iPhone to Pixel first time because the spam calls were driving me up the walls every 2 minutes. And it works so good. And I wanted a BlackBerry, and they went out of business when I got my first phone in like 2013 when I got my first smartphone. Because I had the candy bar, then I had the what was it? Samsung something with the screen slid out and then you could type on it. Kind of like a
Sidekick.
Oh.
Kinda, but it was Sprint back then. Yeah, it wasn't quite T-Mobile yet. It was Sprint back then, yeah. Or maybe you
The
slid
Sidekick,
it.
I think.
Well, I don't know. It was Samsung, but it had the screen, and I think you push up on it or something, and it reveals where you can type. Yeah. But
there's a few of those.
I did the opposite. Yeah, I did the opposite. I went iPhone SE 3rd gen for Pixel 7, and then I'll be dang, 3 days after I get it, the Pixel 8 comes out. I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's the way she goes sometimes. What you got there, Eris?
Did you say my name? I didn't hear it.
I
did.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if everybody's aware that there was like a flaw in iOS where somebody could take your phone and try to guess your PIN, and then that would change your Apple account, and then they would take your phone in and take it over basically, and then you couldn't do anything because they would change your Apple ID password from your PIN, and this was being used to steal your phone. People would take your phone and try to guess your PIN, and eventually they go into your account and just take it over.
Oh wow!
This is that's crazy.
And this
they have a fix for that sort of.
This was
a stolen device thing now.
Yeah, this was fixed recently. There was a iOS update for that, and what they do now is you have to have your location open, and Apple tries to guess where your home is, and then it puts more restrictions where you're not home for your PIN.
That's good. They're putting in some effort there.
Yeah, it requires like biometrics and stuff when you're away from home, so someone can't just use a PIN to get into your device.
That's good.
And a good
I
thing
like that.
about going to Pixel, I don't have to worry about being on a plane and being airdropped something nasty.
They probably fix that
I
by now.
mean, just
Yeah.
turn off the
You could
airdrop.
just not accept airdrops, you know.
Yeah, you could just leave it
Oh.
in contacts only. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Have
So-
you seen those videos with those pilots telling people stop sending those images on airdrop?
mm-hmm. Yep.
Man,
No.
I'd be all about that. I mean, give me a collection on my flight.
Yep.
I have no idea. I've never heard any of this stuff. I've never had anybody try to send me a fake airdrop thing. But also, my phone isn't named anything. It's just it's like iPhone 4, you know, like iPhone parentheses 4. So it's like you don't know whose phone it is. It's just some random nonsense. 'Cause I don't care.
Man, I got excited when somebody airdropped me. I'm like, hey, someone else airdrops. Awesome.
So I
have friends.
I have to say,
You're right.
I have to say, you know, as much as I don't care for the Apple ecosystem and everything else, I have to give a lot of respect for their level of integration between their devices. They've really got a nice thing going on for that walled garden. And sometimes I'm a little jealous,
Yeah.
but I'm okay. I don't need to have the Mercedes-Benz and BMW. I'm okay with my Fiat. That's what I have to say, you know. It
Thank
gets me
you.
from point A to point B just fine. Maybe not very luxurious,
So-
but I get good gas
I would
mileage.
say that you're actually underselling Linux here. I think Linux is like the McLaren. You know,
Where you,
it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's super performant and awesome.
I was gonna say,
As long as you just use it and don't touch it, it won't break.
right, and also you don't hit a pothole
McLaren.
because you're it's gonna take something off the bottom of you're gonna lose a tire.
I mean, yeah, you wouldn't normally drive around a McLaren. Okay, fine. How about
It is just like
I'll
a
think about
McLaren.
this
It's
for a
fun to
while.
look at, but you don't really want to own it. You don't want to use one.
I'm
That's
going to get
not
banned for this, but Linux is Windows Me. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh,
Man.
This is the Linux equivalent. Linux is the Back to the Future time machine. A lot of great power, a lot of great responsibility.
Is it like mixing like
And-
Spider-Man up with Doc Brown. I mean, I have a DeLorean, and
I like it.
I will say, you know, it's fun to drive, and but it's not the most performant vehicle, but you know, it's fun to drive.
no?
Wait, you
The,
actually own one?
Yeah, I do.
Does that mean I can put on my computer and dump compost into it?
Yes, it does. You can stick it right in the floppy drive.
Oh, the Mr. Fusion, right?
Yeah. Actually, you can't see
Yeah.
it here, but behind this monitor, there's actually a Back to the Future pinball machine also. So
What about
Nice.
a flux capacitor? You got a flux capacitor?
I don't. See, I got a 1981. Those didn't come until 1982. So
Yep.
that's a canned response that
That's a
I've
shame.
used. So it is an open mic night, and we are definitely doing the open mic. Everything we didn't have to announce it, but I did want to ask, cat or dog person. I just kind of want to go around. I haven't heard from Sean yet. Well, welcome, Sean. By the way, are you more of a cat or a dog person?
I am a dog person.
Okay, a dog person. And cool. And Adam, I think you're more of a cat person, if I remember correctly.
Meow.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Ricky? More of a cat or dog?
So apparently Adam is actually a cat person. He's a person that is a cat.
Right. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Khajiit has
I-
wares if you have coin.
I'm a cat person, but I also have one dog along with 7 cats.
Definitely a cat person then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Vince?
This question makes me sad because I'm not allowed pets. My wife says no.
Okay, so you're a neither. I got it.
So your answer
It's
is
so
no.
unfair. It's so unfair. She let him have kids, but not a pet. Like obviously the worst choice. The worst choice. I
love
could
that I
dive
asked
deeper
for
into your
permission.
question there, Vince, but I'm not gonna bring this
No,
conversation
don't.
down.
Please,
so.
please don't.
What about you, Chris? Cat or dog?
Meow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Michael, are you more of a? Do you lean more cat or more
Dogs.
dog? Dog. Okay, dog. All right.
Dogs.
And
By
doc-
far.
By
Like
far.
10 times, tenfold.
Okay.
Cats are okay on occasion. Most of the time, they're evil. They're like little demons.
So Anna says, I have a bird. So am I a bird person? So what does that make me? That makes you Anna. Dr. Linux, would you call yourself more of a cat or a dog person?
More of a dog person.
Okay. All right.
Also, what's your degree in?
Linux.
This is degrees in bash.
Repeat that.
So
What makes you a doctor? What degree? He said, what was your degree in?
Wish not to say.
Okay.
Well,
Homeopathic medicine. Got it.
how about you, Colin? You more a dog or a cat person?
If I was to have an animal, it would probably be a dog. But currently, we have rabbits because my daughter abandoned them. So,
Okay. Well,
so we have rabbits. But
That is
I'm with-
every single story of a parent getting a rabbit for
Yes.
a kid.
absolutely. Well, no, I didn't get the rabbits for her. She bought them with a. She was living away from home with someone else, and then they decided to buy a rabbit each. Then they had a falling out. Then she moved out. Then she brought both the rabbits with her. And hey, presto, I've got a couple of rabbits.
You should teach her a lesson and abandon her.
I can't. She moved out.
she already abandoned him.
But rabbits aren't bad. They don't make any noise. Their waste is good for the garden, so it's good. It's good. What do you call it? It's good for the plants and everything. So
yeah,
I
they're
love
making
your optimism.
good use for themselves anyway. So yeah,
Good manure.
Yeah.
Rabbit's Fertilizer.
manure. Yeah, good fertilizer. That's the word I was looking for. Fertilizer. Words are hard as you get older.
But how are the kangaroos with those rabbits? I would think are like Australian rabbits like kind of like kangaroos too, and they're big and burly and will fight you, or is it?
Well,
Like a
kangaroos
koala.
are a bit like that application that Jinder was trying out. They're a box buddy.
And just think, if Colin ever gets desperate for food, he could eat the rabbit. Sorry.
It's true. You can't live on rabbit though. You'll actually starve eventually if you don't have anything.
Oh, really?
I have eaten rabbit
Yeah.
before, actually.
Yeah, because rabbits, they're a thermogenic food. They actually burn more energy to process it because they're so lean than you actually get.
Right.
So you have to
Oh.
you have to have rabbit stew. It's got to be like with potatoes and carrots and things. Otherwise, you'll starve to death. Yeah,
Vegetable,
yeah.
other proteins.
Those
It's good.
wascally wabbits.
I know, right?
Actually, rabbit.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So there's
Huh.
that's a whole side tangent for a whole other conversation. But anyway,
Right.
which is why you actually don't see much rabbit available in stores or ever. Eris, what about you? Are you more of a cat or a dog person?
I've never had neither. So I have to say
So
When you see a
let's
picture of a cat,
let's say someone abandons one and you end up with it. Which one would you prefer they abandon?
I would see myself having a cat because dog is just too much work, I think. And like you got to do everything.
It's the other way around. Cats, you have to change the litter box and all that every day.
I refuse to do
scoop
that.
It out.
And they'll
Really?
demand
Yeah,
it too, won't they?
and also
They-
cats don't appreciate it, whereas a dog appreciates it.
That's right.
It's true.
Yeah, you're spot on there.
Yep,
What about you, Jinda?
that's true.
You're muted.
You're
I would
muted.
go with dog.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like dog better.
So I would consider myself more of a dog person, but I haven't had a dog in a couple of years now. When my dog, I had a greyhound. I've had greyhounds for years, but when the last one I had died, the last dog that was mine. Actually, I fostered a greyhound for a while too, but I never actually got over that. Like, I don't want another dog now because I still
Yeah.
have her. I had her cremated, and her urn has googly eyes on it, so she can keep watching me. And every once in a while, I'll still take her for a walk because I'm a crazy person.
Oh my God.
So so I don't really want to.
I love it.
So actually, I do have a cat, but I refuse I refuse to be a turd miner. I will not mine turds. So I have I have a litter robot, and it does all that for me. And then I take that and I dump it, and I put the little tray back in. And once a week, because I will not mine turds ever again. But yeah, but I got.
So having said what I said,
Yeah.
I think there was like a survey done a few years back, and it asked if people like dogs more or cats in the U.S. and dogs actually won. Dogs are overwhelmingly more popular than cats, but more people own cats than dogs.
It's interesting.
Because I think it's easier to have them. I think that's why people think they have more cats than dogs.
I don't know if it's easier. I don't know. I think it's easier to have more than one. You know?
So
I wanted
a
one of
dog, you
those
have
things.
you double your effort every time you get another dog. And a cat, you just
As long
have
as you
like, a bigger litter box.
As long as you don't do what Vince did and just have kids instead. Just,
yeah.
So I recently returned from Vietnam, and when you talk about dogs, it's a whole different situation there. So let's not go there either.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
I really like my cat too. I her name is June, and I call her colloquially Murder Kitty because she likes to go out and like kill rabbits and things, and then she'll leave the carcasses for the chickens to eat. So she's actually very helpful in that regard, and I'm not sure why that is that she's like that, but I really appreciate her. So like she needs to do more with the squirrel population.
A lot of cats are like that.
Yeah, but she leaves it for the chickens,
Yeah.
and then like she once maimed
So
a
there's
mouse.
actually, I saw a video. It was on the internet.
Ooh, so it must be true.
Grain of salt here, people. Grain of salt here, people. But there was this person who said that this happens because cats go and kill animals and bring them back to you because they feel like you aren't able to fend for yourself, so they're getting you food.
Oh, well, that's nice of them. I thought cats did that because they're saying, "Look, if you don't behave, this is what's going to happen to you."
Yeah, that's probably
All
not
of
the
them, I
case.
bet you did.
I thought it was
in
like
your
tribute.
case, Murder Kitty might be.
Yeah.
I heard it was like tribute because they see you as a big cat. To them, you're a big cat. You're like the leader, so they give you tribute, like they're bringing you back a present.
I highly doubt that because cats are the worst. Like, it makes sense that they pity you and think you are worthless more so than they respect you, because the cats don't respect anything. You say don't do this, they're like, oh, you mean this? And then they just do it anyway. Like cats are there was this joke, I forgot where I heard it the first time, but it's like the proof that the world is not flat is that if it was, a cat would knock everything off of it. Like, because that's all.
Yeah.
That's all they do, right? And it's just, dogs are like the nicest thing. They're happy to see you. Cats are like, give me food and go away. Like, I can't.
So I have to say I really like my cat. Like I don't consider myself a cat person. I'm more of a chicken person. But I like my cat because she, well, one, she does feed my chickens, so that's really cool. But she'll also like I got one quick story. So she maimed a mouse and then took it over by a bunch of chickens, just dropped it, and just watched the chickens go after that mouse. And like she just stayed there, like she was amused by watching the chickens like tear that mouse apart. And I thought, well, that's
So your cat is psychotic.
yes, maybe that's why I like it.
Unpure.
And then also
Okay.
like at night, when I'm trying to fall asleep, she'll jump on me, and then she'll take her claws and like put it right in my neck, and then to like not like to claw me. She's like just a little bit of a poke, just to say, hey, can you pet me? And so I'll pet her, and then I'll stop, and then she'll do it again. Like, okay, fine, I'll pet you for a little while. I'll stop, and then she'll do it again. Anyway, so that goes on for a little while, and then and sometimes I know she'll sniff my mouth to see if like I'm, and I'll actually tell her, nope, I'm not dead yet. All right, so back off. But because cats will eat you if you die.
I was just gonna say, I wanted one of those things that she was talking about, but they're like $600 US. And my cat, this the one I just held up. I'll be laying on the bed and she'll reach over, and if I have my hand like that holding the phone, she'll reach up and she'll go, and then I'll pet her and she'll go. She'll do it again and then again, pet, like hello, And I had a cat. This has been like 5 or 6 years ago. I would come in the front door of my apartment and sit down, and all of a sudden his eyes would get this big and would start clawing me. I mean, just tearing my arms up, legs biting me for no reason. And I'm like, Pickles, what is your problem? I've been gone all day,
Well, she's obviously upset with you
evil.
and very hungry. Yeah. Well,
No, he had food all the time, but it was just weird. He got mad every time I left.
Had the taste for human flesh.
Right.
Yep. He was just upset that you called him Pickles.
Oh, there we
Pickle,
go.
yeah.
Maybe that's why. That was the.
Did
the source.
you ever have the
Instead of Pickle
experience
Rick.
of like all the kids getting up from the lunch table and leaving when you sat down? Because the cat just might be cluing into that.
So, what about you, Ben? Are you more of a cat or dog person? Because I didn't ask you. You came in here.
I personally lean more towards dogs, but we do have one of each.
Yeah.
Do they find it aggressive when you lean toward them?
The dog probably likes it. We'll lean right back.
Yeah.
So a cat would find it
actually-
aggressive,
he's
but
actually my
most
sister's
dogs
dog.
like it.
Well, he's actually my sister's dog, but yeah, he's a funny little bud. He's too funny.
Maybe it depends on the dog breed whether the leaning is good or not.
Yeah, my greyhound. Would
That's a
lean on me.
good question.
I actually have two kids. By kids, I mean goats.
Like Chihuahua.
Like I have two goats, and those are very silly animals. Like they're just. I don't know what God was thinking when He made them. There's goofy animals. So.
Mhm.
Amusement.
I can tell you what he was thinking. He was thinking lol.
I think so.
Lol.
It's funny. Like the goats think it's always time to play, like a dog, but they want to play with everything to include the turkey, and the turkey is not amused by any kind of playing whatsoever. Like so, the goat will like headbutt the turkey, and it's really pretty funny. So anyway.
My cousin up the road had some of those fainting goats. Those were hilarious.
Yeah, that is funny. I'd like to see those in real life. I've never seen them in like up close.
They're hilarious.
And that has nothing to do with open source. So it is that time of year when everyone does their taxes. So Michael, thank you for my form. What is it? The 1099 miscellaneous. What is that called?
Yeah, 1099.
Yeah,
1099.
that was good.
There's also like W9. I think is another one. I think it's the same thing.
W2 is what you get from your employer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at W9. I think W9 and 1099 are the same thing.
Oh, okay. It could be. I don't know.
I could be wrong on that. Yeah.
But I'm very excited to say this is the first year I got my taxes done before like April 13th in a long time. So I got my taxes done today. I'm really excited about that. And I did happen to use TurboTax. And so that's just what I've been using for a long time. But anyway, so there's this great article.
An ad?
No, but there's a great article that
It's
says,
not an ad.
stop telling everyone that TurboTax is free. The FTC has ordered Intuit. So there is a link
I
here.
may have covered this on Twill.
Oh.
In fact.
And I can throw that there. So the Commission's final order prohibits Intuit from advertising or marketing that that any good or service is free unless it is free for all consumers, or it discloses clearly and conspicuously, and in close proximity to the free claim, the percentage of taxpayers or consumers that qualify for the free product or service. Alternatively, if the good or service is not free, to the majority of consumers, it could disclose that the majority of the consumers do not qualify. The FTC said That's the FTC Bureau of Consumer Protection Chief Samuel Levine issued a statement lauding the commissioner's vote yesterday. The commission has issued an order setting forth a clear standard that Intuit must follow. They must stop their deceptive ads and tell the truth about how many people are actually eligible for their supposed free product in order to, and also sends a message across the industry. Free means free, not free for a few or free for some. Businesses can expect an FTC enforcement action if they harness the power of free in the dishonest way Intuit did. So I personally, I'm using TurboTax. I also have used H&R Block software. I didn't really care for that one either, but I think, and I think Michael, we probably talked about this before, and I don't want to lean like I want to be very careful how we weave this, but how we thread this needle. But I think the whole tax system's a scam, and I think Intuit's part of it, and so is H&R Block. But that's my opinion.
I think that's a fair assessment, and in my opinion, that these companies are definitely taking advantage of the system. So I have a question for Vince and Colin, because both of you are not in the U.S., and I think everybody else here is in the U.S. What is this? I think you are both Australian, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what is the system of Australia? How do you know what to pay in your taxes?
Right. Well, I've heard in America that
No, don't. I want to know what Australians.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying. I listened to Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I have.
So,
I disagree with a lot of things he says. But
we have a system where it's actually on your pay slip how much taxes you paid for the year. So how do you get that information? Does your employer give it to you, or does the employer
for the
gives
majority
it
of
to you?
employees? Yeah, majority of employees. You get a pay slip, and the tax is taken out of your pay automatically. It's just automatically calculated based on your weekly rate of pay.
Mm-hmm.
And the harder you work, the more taxes you pay.
Right.
That's true everywhere, right? But like that once you're like when you're okay, I guess the best question is when you are time to file your taxes, how are you given the slip of what you need to be paid? You mean you need to be paying is like, or how much you've paid in already?
It's
like how do you get that
sheet.
information?
It's a group certificate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, group certificate. It's called a group certificate. Yeah. But we don't get those anymore because we've got what you call we've got MyGov, which is the government. So if you're claiming money for dependents, you've got to be a member of that or whatever, which we used to be. Now my taxes, I don't even get a group certificate anymore. I just log into that and my taxes is there, and I just do the taxes through the government provided thing, and it costs me no money.
So what you're saying is you have a website you log into that tells you how much taxes you have paid or need to pay. And then from there, can you do deductions from there and say, hey, I actually don't need to pay it because of this expense or something?
Yes, only if your work provides for it, or there are certain things that by default you can claim. But deductions are more of if you've got your own business, then you can claim more.
Sure, but you can do the deductions yourself directly on this website.
Yes.
Okay. See, this is why everyone. This is why every time I wanted to start this question with you guys because that's how I expected it to be.
Right. Well, you also can go to a I was surprised to hear Nate say H&R Block because we have that here as well. So we have H&R Block. I used to go there, and they used to charge an absolute fortune and used to advertise, we can get this much return or whatever. I felt like I was paying so much money to get so little back, right? And not only that, in our country, the more hours you work, the higher tax bracket you go into as well.
Yeah, we don't
That's
actually,
weird.
We don't have H in our block. We have H in our block.
That's what I was going to say that too.
Okay.
We're just poking fun. We're just poking fun because you say H, not
Don't
H.
worry, Colin, because they're wrong. They're just wrong, especially Michael.
What? Well, I didn't even say it. I was gonna though.
You
I was
didn't
gonna.
need to. You just thought it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw it in my face, but as soon as you said, "Oh, it's the same thing," I was like, I can't wait to say this cat joke.
Let's see, Eris, he's got something to say, and I want to make sure he got his hand up, all polite.
I was gonna just wait for Michael to keep asking his questions, but I was gonna bring up the fact that there was a proposal to have a website from the IRS so that everybody in the U.S. could just file their taxes there, and
Right.
that got, of course, lobbied back and forth.
But I don't trust no government.
I don't.
So that got lobbied back and
So-
forth. But right now, what they're doing is some of the I forgot how many states they're doing a pilot program so that people in those states can actually file their taxes as a pilot, and then maybe they'll open up to everybody, and it'll be like other countries where they actually have a website you can just go and log in and do your taxes that way. And this of course was fought by TurboTax or Intuit or whatever, saying that the government is coming after them and they're being anti-competitive and all these things, of course.
So the way I look at taxes, actually, so one, I'm actually all in favor of like abolishing IRS. That I'm one of those people. But I think that when you file your taxes, to me, it's a Fifth Amendment violation, because you are essentially incriminating yourself if you get something wrong. And I just, it's like, I feel like they're saying, okay, we know what you owe. Guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
So you
exactly
have
the
to guess
problem,
your
right?
taxes. This is crazy. When I heard that, I just could not believe that people have to actually guess how much tax they've earned. Or can you actually
You don't guess, but it's you're supposed to know everything.
You do guess.
You're supposed to know. You're supposed to know every little tax, little detail, and make sure your calculation is
You
correct.
are guessing. You are guessing because you don't know. Like, and the thing is, they do know. They know what you owe. So if you guess wrong and say something that they didn't even know about, well, now they know, and now you pay it. Whereas every other country that has any level of like not being a crapshoot is a complete opposite system, where they have the system, they tell you how much you owe, and then you say how much do you agree or do you not agree, and here's some deductions. That's it. I've talked to people from Finland and like most European countries, and they've all said that's how it works. And then I tell them the story, and they always hear Americans complain about taxes. We're not complaining about how much necessarily. We're complaining about no one knows how it works or how much they need to pay or how it even like comes to like there's people in America who consider tax refunds as free money. It's your money. It's not. They took it from you for a year. You're giving them free interest-free
money,
loans with it's insane that we have this culture of our society of treating the tax system of like a gift from the government when it's just your money, or the idea that we don't have any idea what to pay or how to pay or like any of that stuff. And we do have to pay online, but you pay through a third-party system to pay the government. Like that is what.
There's nothing more American than that, man.
Yeah, exactly. So my part,
chaos.
I covered this topic in Twill, and I came up with like a way to describe it. It's imagine ordering a pizza, and then the pizza arrives, and then you say how much, and they say guess, and then you have to calculate the combination of the pepperoni, the weight of the cheese, and how many scoops of sauce that was included in the pizza, and then you give them your idea of like, is it $17.52? And they go, no, you're going to jail. That's the system that we have.
So the thing too is,
and they take your pizza from you as well.
Yes,
I see you ordered
and they take it
too, huh?
And they take the pizza back, and they also take and they try to find more pizza that you have in your freezer from frozen, like DiGiorno.
Right. So
Look, to be honest, in our country, they're very transparent about how much they rip you off. So, you know, it's
Well, that's
pretty
good.
that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, hey Colin, I've got an idea for a business that you and I can go into. We'll sell it to these Americans. It's called MyGov.
ooh, yeah, sounds
Let's
good.
do
Yeah,
it.
my God.
So
My God.
My God.
it sounds like a song. My God.
It actually
gonna
reminds me of that song,
say,
My Girl. the
Yeah,
Motown
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
My God.
Somehow,
My God.
somehow, I feel like some corporation will get in between you and change it to My Glove, and it'll be a whole different service.
My
Well,
God.
well, it's,
I was gonna say.
it sounds like Michigan.
Nate,
Yes.
I did the TurboTax 2. It said it was free, but if you need help, it was like $89. But then when I got to the end, it's like it's going to cost you $215. I was like, no, $215 to file.
Well, it's because it's not actually the whole free. They put underneath in small text that says relates to simple taxes only. Like if you have, if you work for it, if you work as an employee to a company, and they take the check out, and you just say, "Here's my W-2," and then you're done, and that's the end of your taxes. Then they will give that for free. I know people who have those kind of situations. I have the incredibly complicated thing that I've never even bothered to see how much they would charge me because I know it's going to be insane. I just have an accountant do it for me. Like I have to pay someone to figure out my taxes because it is such a nightmare to do it. And there's so many different rules based on like, if you have your own company, if you work for a company as an employee and you have your own business, you have extra levels of nonsense. And like a lot of people don't even know there's even a self-employment tax. If you work for yourself as a freelancer, you pay an additional 15% tax just for the right and privilege to charge someone for your service. That's it.
So
like that's insanity.
So the other thing that's crazy too is like, so let's say you have a business where you actually, a successful business, you have to pay in quarterly. And then if you like pay less quarterly, they're like, well, you owe us more money. Even if you make less money, they'll demand that you pay what you're paying before. Because if you start making less money, then they automatically, they think you're trying to cheat them. So you have to prove that you're not making as much money. It's a terrible system. And it's very hostile.
I'll tell you what, how about we just abolish tax altogether? Wouldn't that be much easier?
Yeah, just abolish the IRS. That'd be great.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Yeah. I mean, technically that's not practical, but I would like that too personally.
I mean, I'm
not paying taxes would be nice.
I mean,
it's
I'm
not
in favor
practical because we're being brought up to realize that it's not practical, right?
I'm actually in favor. I'm in favor of a lot of like community projects though. Like I like paying into along with my neighbors to make sure our roads get fixed. I like the whole library system. There's a lot of things I really like that community stuff does. I just think there's a lot of things that I don't like as well. And I think you can draw a line on that. But Eris,
I like where the money comes from too.
If you could choose where your taxes go, that'd be great.
Ooh, yeah, I like that idea.
So the self-employment tax is not technically a self-employment tax. This is the Medicare and Social Security taxes that an employer would pay on your behalf. But since there's no employer besides you, you have to pay them. So that's what the self-employment tax technically means.
Yes, but it's still an extra tax that you have to do as an employee, as an additional as an individual. If you created a business and you worked for that business and you had to pay those taxes in that system, I would understand that. It kind of makes sense. No. Here's the thing. That's not how it works, because there's actually a loophole. If you have an LLC and you don't even have to have an S corp. You don't have to have an S corporation. You can have an LLC and file taxes through that LLC as an S corp, and you can get rid of the SEP, the self-employment tax, entirely, and you don't have to pay the taxes as the corporation, because you can do a pass-through system so that the amount of money goes into the individual and the individual pays income tax, so you avoid that tax entirely. So it's actually the opposite of that. If you have a system, if you have the information of an accountant to tell you that you could do it this way, you can actually avoid the taxes but if you don't, then you're screwed. That's why it's ridiculous. That's why our system is so awful, because you're guessing. But even if you're not guessing, the people who are not guessing, they know the tricks because there's thousands of them, and they're there on purpose to benefit the people who have the money to find them. But that's it. Like that's our
that's
system
exactly
is
true.
awful.
Yep. Well, the idea is to. Okay, I'm not actually. I have to stop.
But as Colin
saying,
and
like,
Vince can say,
it's
you can see just
crazy.
what this craziness with the tax system here.
I was going to say, Michael didn't mean that kind of escort. Just kidding. And yeah, I found it weird on when you put in like the employer
I didn't say the
number.
word escort. What are you talking?
He said escort,
Oh, I thought
but
you said some kind.
Well, now I know I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
I said
Wow.
S corp as in corporation.
Oh, okay, my bad. Well, I was gonna say I found it
The
weird that
government
on
gives you
TurboTax.
escorts? What?
Man, I was thinking, man, I'm paying a lot in taxes.
Chris, you have to be here every week. Chris, you can't miss a week from this point on. You just can't. You're not allowed. You got to be here every week now.
I was gonna say I found it weird on TurboTax, like when you put in the what is it called, the employer number, whatever, it automatically popped up and said, "Well, we pulled your info from ADP," and I'm like, "How did you know they use ADP for their, what do you call it, paycheck system and all that ADP?"
Because they have to report that. Like the thing is that the thing that's annoying the most about it is that sometimes people think that they have to do this whole process because the government doesn't know how much you're paying, but they do. They 100% know. Like every document you send in, the W-2s, the 1099s, they 100% know how much is being owed. They just don't want to tell you, because then that makes the system too easy. Here's what's the most annoying thing to me. All of this stuff that I've been talking about, it's like the system's awful. That is the most annoying overall, right? But for the past 40 years, every president, asterisk, obviously, every president of any value has tried to change this system since Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where we actually have the same system everybody else has, where they tell you how much you owe and you pay it, or you tell them deductions or something. But every single time it's been attempted, all of these companies have gone into, allegedly, lobbying and fighting it so that they can't actually get the system. That's also why we have this whole free credit report thing, where we have to pay for getting access to our credit reports, or some credit cards are like, here, we'll give you this super awesome bonus of telling you this thing. But because we have this freecreditreport.com thing, which by the way is not governmental run, it's a company. It's like a collective, like an oligopoly company, right? And you're only allowed to do this one time per year. You can only check it once a year. By the way, your credit changes like every 4 days. Like checking it once a year is absolutely worthless. So we have they have a system that is like designed to be the most problematic for the people who it's easiest for, because if you have the money to deal with all this nonsense, then you can. But if you don't, you're just going to keep going under and under and under. Like your credit score is going to get worse and worse and worse. Your taxes are going to get worse and worse and worse.
I thought the US was the land of the free.
No, it used to be
Land of the taxes.
It is the land of the free.
So
you're free
to pay
leave
taxes
if you want to.
So
It's the land of free TurboTax. It's the land of free credit reports. I don't know what else you want.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. We're the land. Yes, we're the land of the free, and like fine print at the bottom it says.
Yeah.
So you got a EULA for the US, have you?
A EULA, yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We signed on the way out of our moms.
If we keep going, keep going on this path, I'm going to get really depressed. So
TurboTax is really easy because all I had to do was just scan them and then upload them, and it automatically filled everything in. That was the good part.
Yeah, but that's the simple tax person, like someone who has a simple tax. You don't have to worry about it hardly ever. Yeah, it's because it's
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But
True.
most people don't actually have the simple tax. That's why they were like, Intuit was like, or TurboTax. I don't know how long Intuit's owned TurboTax, but TurboTax says, well, we've helped 120 million people or 114 million people do blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well, there's 330 million people in this country, and so that's clearly not good. And even if it was good, how many years did it take you to accumulate that number? Like maybe it took you decades to get to that number. So it's not actually helping people. It's just pretending to help people, which is effectively all of these companies. Like if I think the only good option would be like a local accountant, because they're not like trying to get you through these like nonsense tiny little we'll charge you $50 things. They're actually trying to probably help you take care of it and teach you how to do money well.
Right.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Michael. I had a 1099 job and a bunch of like complex taxes at one point, and I brought it to a local tax place where we lived outside of Atlanta, and those guys like reduced my tax bill by like 60%, and like if I had done it myself, I'd have just been boned.
Mm-hmm. And also the fact that if you work for yourself and you have like a home office, you can write off that office. Like you can write it off. Yeah. And there's all sorts of things. Like even if you do like tech support from your house, you can write that off. Like, and here's the funny thing is there's things that I can do as a right, like, and this applies to like all sorts of different people. There's so many different configurations that we can do as a write-off that people don't know they can, depending on what they're doing. But I do podcasting, right? That's part of my job. And I do video podcasting. But so my appearance is actually part of things I can write off. I can get a haircut and I can write it off because it's part of the job. It's part of the expenses I need to do. And that's like but this can be applied to like not every industry, but a lot of people can do these kinds of things, but they have to talk to an accountant to let them tell you.
Is that why your hair looks good all the time, Michael?
It does.
See, so my ignorance says that's why I wear a stocking cap, because I want to get out of that. So
every 4 weeks I get a haircut, so it's always like, yeah.
Every day I just shave. Every day I just shave.
I mean, that works too, but I'm I don't know.
Well, on that was a great open mic night. I had one more topic, but I think we'll have to throw that on to next week. Next week.
Just give us a hint of what the topic is.
Ring announces will no longer facilitate police requests and footage from users.
That's cool. Yeah, let's do it next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, so also next week is a distro exploration. Since I think I chose the last one, I'm gonna go ahead and pick one out.
KOS. Boom. You're welcome.
KOS. Does anybody have any objections to that?
Heavens no! I actually like that idea.
By the way, KOS. The reason is because
I'm sorry,
it's
but
what? Why?
Just because I can.
It's KAOS, right? Like
it's KAOS, like chaos, but not.
Yes, so we're in chaos.
Yeah.
We're in a bit of...
So
Michael,
to be
isn't that one built on Linux from scratch but uses Pac-Man?
No.
Oh,
it's not based on
entirely
Linux from scratch.
independent then.
It's independent, yeah.
Okay, got
but
it.
It does use Pac-Man, but it's not based on Arch. But it's independent, but they use some things from Arch.
Thing of Pac-Man. Okay, I got you.
They're inspired by Arch.
It's more like inspired by, yeah, sure. Yeah. Which, by the way, Arch was inspired by Crux. If you never heard of Crux Linux, that's the thing.
I know what Crux is. Dude.
So there's the reason I was suggesting it is because coming soon to a Linux near you is Plasma 6, and KOS, the latest version they just released, is the first distribution to have production version of their distribution as Plasma 6. So technically Plasma 6 is not out yet. So you will be using a release candidate for this test, but it will be Plasma 6. So in a way, you are both testing the distro and you're testing Plasma 6. Two birds.
Cool.
Okay.
It's like getting two birds stoned at once. I like that.
Getting two birds stoned at once.
Is that how it goes?
Well,
Exactly.
I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
one thing before we close.
I got
this
two
out.
birds in my hand instead of the bush, so I'm like, whatever.
Right.
Well, I did get my new laptop the other day on Wednesday, which is an 11th gen Asus TUF gaming machine. And you know what? It did come with Windows 11, but I might say screw it and put Chaos in its place.
Yeah, why not? Might be fun.
Yeah, what the hey? I'll give it a shot. Yeah. Why not?
Just so you know, everybody,
Can't be worse.
KOS is not going to be everything. It's more like try out Plasma 6 kind of thing.
I like it.
Because it doesn't have packages for everything. It's like heavily focused with KDE stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like they limit it. Basically, there's no GTK stuff.
Yeah, I don't even think there is a GTK package, so you wouldn't be able to use GTK apps.
Yeah.
Unless it's a flat pack, maybe. I've never tried that.
Maybe Flatpak.
Yeah, Flatpak's got GTK built in, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
just use Flatpaks.
It
There you
uses the GTK runtime for the flat packs. Yeah. That would be interesting. I'm curious.
Well, not
That'd
yeah,
probably
never
work.
try that. Yeah, so make that part of your exploration. See how Chaos works with Flatpaks with GTK applications. So give that a try. It's good. That's a good call. Well played, Michael.
Yeah.
Is it among the list of distros on DistroWatch?
I think it's in there somewhere.
I mean, it's in there. Yeah.
It'll be there somewhere.
Okay.
I don't
Right.
know. I mean, KOS has been around for a very long time, like many, many
It
years.
has, yeah.
Yeah. It's not like some new random thing I just found and said, "Hey, try it."
I'm
Yeah.
using KDE.
Okay.
I'm using KDE at the moment, but I find I did some making the ISO. I did some configs with Cinnamon, which is very easy. But when it comes to KDE, oh my goodness, there's things all over the place in KDE. When it comes to configs, you can't just move a config folder. There's so many other little files and folders and whatever that.
The whole point of KDE, you're not touching the config files ever. Like you're just using the system settings, changing the configurations and stuff. It's all there.
Right. Yeah, but I wanted to build an ISO with themed out of the box type thing. So that's the whole reason why I was doing that.
Yeah, but you don't have to do that either. They have the look and feel theme system, and they have like
I don't know how to
you
use
can put
look and
stuff.
feel.
There's tutorials for how to build your own look and feel theme. And essentially, you can just create a thing. You can even put it on the KDE store if you want to, and you can just have it download from the KDE store. You just click the buttons and like, okay, install from store, boom, 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 done.
That's how I do.
So is there
That's how I do my
I
own
said
look and
boom,
feel.
boom, boom because there's multiple
folder?
clicks.
Is there a look and feel folder you can keep that'll
No.
no, oh, okay. That's what I mean.
You're trying to do a thing based on a thing that you've already not learned to do, and it doesn't work that way.
Oh, I've
It's
done
like-
it. I did it. I have done it. I've themed KDE within the ISO, and that's the theme that it comes up with when you in the live installer.
Sure.
It's all
Sure.
themed, but it was just a bit of a nightmare trying to work out what to move over, and it's not
So
not as easy.
I have a trick for you.
What's that?
This is a life hack for KDE users.
Yep.
Okay. You build your system, you configure it how you want with the themes and everything, and you set all the stuff up, the icon themes, whatever. Then you make a copy of that. You go to your home folder, you copy that home folder, and everything in the .config file and everything in the .kde file. All right. And then you
Right.
just save that somewhere. And then you touch
Right.
nothing inside of it. Because as soon as you start
Okay.
touching stuff, then it starts going weird and wonky. That's what I
Right.
do. I make the change, and then anytime I need to make a new system and pull it in, I just go to my drive that has the stuff that's untouched and just kind of like plop it in. And
Okay.
then you get like, well, where do you put this, and that? You've used this for KDE for almost 10 years. I have no idea. I don't think they know. It's everywhere. It's so much scattered nonsense and stuff, but
yeah, there
it's
is.
also
yeah.
amazing. So, like I've
All right.
talked,
Something to
I've
think
talked
about.
to a variety of KDE people, and I don't know anybody who knows where everything is, but it is amazing. It just needs a little bit of polish to get past that little. But Plasma 6 looks like it has a lot of that polish. I haven't tried it yet, which is one of the reasons KOS, but it looks really cool. Like they've modernized so much of it. I think they actually might solve this part now.
I'm hoping
Okay.
for a little bit less flickering on the Wayland session. That's what I'm hoping for. That they've kind of cleaned up some of the menu.
That they have cleaned that up a lot.
That's good. It's not all the time in Plasma 5.
I would say, Colin, please just use cinnamon. It'd be fine.
Well, that is my that is my favorite desktop. Sorry, Michael, it's my favorite desktop.
How dare you both? How dare you both?
Come on,
He's gonna
it's
be
a
upset.
spice. You have to like it.
I do. I like it in my coffee, actually.
Cinnamon is. I do like cinnamon in like my cereal and like like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's fantastic. But
See, you're a cinnamon user. There you go.
I will say cinnamon is a good desktop environment to a degree. There are massive caveats to it, but other than that, it is. It's got a ton of good stuff to it too. Every single DE has amazing stuff it does, and like, come on, man, attached to it at the same time.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
So, some quick housekeeping here before we close it out,
Steve.
since we are kind of at time. If you have any discussion, distribution, or application suggestions, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. I usually get to get to those, and also some poll ideas. If you have ideas for straw polls that we should be doing, I would love to have those. You can also email those or tag Eris in the Telegram or what's that thing everyone likes using? Discord. Discord? Yeah, Discord.
Tuxdigital.com/Discord.
There we go. Use that. Discord doesn't like me back, so there's that. Also, I had a thought. Since everyone's been talking about DistroBox, do you think that might be a good next application appetizer? So, like, I guess 3 weeks from now to do that, because it might be like some time to play with it and maybe get to know it.
Wine bottles. Similar kind of thing. The bottles app. That's like it's kind of like the same thing, but for wine stuff.
Could do that too. I was just thinking, since we've really been beating up DistroBox, and I don't do a whole lot of wine stuff anymore. Dry January has been sticking for a long time.
So you wanted to do DistroBox or Box Buddy? Which one?
It could be either, actually. Could be like, but one. They're both kind of one of the same in that regard. So,
one's more graphic.
One's a GUI for the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should do Terraform.
Okay.
Okay. No.
So you need to have DistroBox installed to use Box Buddy. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. Right.
Okay, we'll get to
I see.
Terraform at another time, Adam, because I don't even know what that is. Sounds like
That
something.
is
First,
the-
you
that
start
is
with the
a
planet,
hot-
and then you go on from there.
Fantastic, yes. I love that dad joke. By the way, Terraform is not a desktop application for people who use their computer for a computer. This is more of an enterprise kind of thing.
Well, there we go.
You say that.
Well, so Adam,
And I'm not wrong.
you do things
No,
that
you're
are
Literally what it's made for.
you do things that are neat, just because they're neat, that are like, woo, over my head. So, anyway.
Are we supposed to use our computers
Really,
to
the
do
question
things?
is,
Well,
yeah,
Are we supposed
exactly,
to-
right? Well, it's more like it's a specific purpose software for for enterprise related stuff, and but the real question, Adam, is why Terraform and not Open Tofu?
Come on, I like support. Thanks. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
That's funny.
And
those who
honestly,
don't know that,
nobody likes
that's
tofu.
Which is actually it. You're not wrong. I mean, tofu is good if you cook it right and you put the right you cook it the right way and you put the right stuff with it. It's good. But yes, I also agree. But for those that don't know, open tofu is a fork of terraform. That's the reference.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Right. I like to have all
But
my
you
toes,
don't
to
want
be
you
honest.
don't want to use it if it doesn't have the HashiCorp logo. Just walk away, straight up.
Well, it is that time for last call. I want to thank you all for being here, of course. So Steve was in the chat, but he didn't actually join tonight, which is unfortunate because he's got the least punchable face on the internet. And he also has a show every Sunday morning, which I like to tune into at 8:15 a.m. Central. So he does a Steve's Very Own Live, and it's kind of like having a computer side chat with Grandpa. Yeah, I really like it. So maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but he's not here to defend himself. So we'll go with that. Michael, I understand you're part of you have more than one podcast. Is that still the case?
Yeah, that's true. I still am part of two podcasts. I run one and host one. That's just me. It's This Week in Linux. Just new episode came out today. thisweekinlinux.com. Yeah, and also we have Destination Linux, which is destinationlinux.net, and we have new episodes every Monday for that show. And we have another one coming out, which is going to be fun. We interviewed the heads, leaders / dictators of Scale, the Southern California Linux Expo, or the tech conference that is the biggest community-driven tech conference that I know of anyway. And it was a really fun interview, and that's coming out this Monday, hopefully, as long as the editing goes well. And so two podcasts. Also, tuxdigital.com is the network that runs the podcast, and also this one, technically.
Yep. Sure does.
As well as Linux Out Loud, which Nate is also on that. And I'm gonna have to jump in on one of these episodes coming up. You whenever one of you are not available, I'll jump in and participate.
Matt was the last minute.
So you got to set that up.
Lat was a last minute. I can't talk now. Apparently it's getting late. Matt was a last minute no show because he was sick, and Matt's never sick. So obviously, yeah. So just Wendy and I. So next time, Gadget. Next time. Also, one of my a regular part of my podcast diet, Linux User Space. You can check out linuxuserspace.show. They did and this is Mike, I don't know if you listened to it, but they did a history on KDE. That was really good, back from the very beginning and coming forward.
I have seen a couple. Well, I guess listened a couple. I've been on that show before. I've guested on that show, and there's a couple episodes that I've seen where their history of things, and I was like, okay, we'll see how in depth this is. It is crazy levels of in depth. I don't know how they get all this, and I mean crazy with a K. Obviously, I'm a KDE user, but it's very good. Some of the stuff I didn't even know about on some of the episodes. I've been using Linux for over 20 years, and then I was like, oh yeah, I think I know all this. Oh, okay, I missed about 5 years apparently.
Yeah, so they just had an episode come out last week on the 5th. So, and it was it's called Passion with Compassion. But they do a little bit more on the KDE saga, which I thought was pretty cool, and some troubles with App Image. I don't know if you want to check that out. But anyway, I like App Image.
I can give you a quick synopsis of why App Image is I don't know what their reasoning was, but lack of ability to update your App Images, bad. That's bad.
Some of them will. So I use Ferdium. It's an app image. That's what I use for
But that's someone who's building into it themselves. The format does not have it. There is no update mechanism for the format. You have to add a third-party tool or hope that the developers added something to tell you. Which is why I don't like the format. That's the main reason I don't like the format. Lack of sandboxing is also kind of a thing. It's kind of disappointing. But also there is no way to find there's no central way to get them, like a Flat Hub or like a Snapcraft store or whatever. That's a good. They should do that. Yeah.
So I only run like 3 app images, but I use the app image launcher, which is kind of nice because you can just, it works very well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it does have its problems, but I don't know. I kind of like them. I think
It's better than nothing.
They do theme integration way better than Flatpak. I like Flatpak better, but I like their theme integration's way better on app image and Flatpak. Something's broken with Flatpak.
Well, I mean, the theme integration is because there is no sandboxing, no security system mechanism whatsoever.
Perfect.
If you get an app image, it has access to the home folder or wherever you put it.
Right.
Carte blanche. And Flatpaks are more limited, and therefore sometimes if whoever makes a Flatpak, if they don't know how to integrate with the theme, they might not properly do it.
Right.
But if you do it properly, it will integrate just fine. But also, I feel like the integration of the system theme is a Linux-only problem. Because if you look at how like Windows, the applications look nothing like anything. They're all super custom, unique nonsense. I think that if we go that route, Flatpak wouldn't really matter. It'd be fine. But however it works, because it's just like,
Okay,
it looks however the designer wants to look.
All right, so I'm spoiled. All right, I got it.
I'm not saying you're spoiled. I'm saying we are spoiled.
Also, I have a website called cubiclelate.com. I do things. Does anybody have anything they wanted to plug? I don't know, Colin, do you have some videos coming out anytime soon?
No, not yet.
No? And Ricky, you probably got something going on here, don't you, Ricky?
Tomorrow, I don't know what time. I'm gonna be pretty much doing a live stream from my mobile device, just walking around outside. It's one of my once in a while outdoors live streams that I do. I usually just walk around outside.
Is it
and
nice
I
outside?
Do a random... Oh yes, it generally is. And pretty much while I'm walking out there, I'm interacting with the live chat, and I usually have a random topic I go into. I don't know what the topic for the stream is yet, but it'll be finalized tomorrow. Also coming very soon, I will be doing a distro review on my channel, and it so happens I'm going to be reviewing KOS.
Oh, well, fantastic. How serendipitous.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Oh, nice. Anyway, well, excellent. Well,
I have something else to plug.
Yes, please do.
And a question for you, Nate. Are you going to Scale this year?
So I don't. I really would like to go to Scale, but I don't think it's going to be able to happen this year, unfortunately.
Okay, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I will be going to Scale, which is a bummer. You're not going to be there.
March,
but
right?
Yeah, it's March. So everybody, if you're in the area that could get to it, you should definitely go. It's very cool. And I will be doing a talk at a different conference. They didn't accept my talk. Rude. But actually, I didn't send one this year. Last year I did, but they didn't accept it. Anyway, I'm going to do a talk at DevOps Days, which is going to be fun. And you might be wondering, what's the topic? You're going to talk about DevOps. Not at all. Not any related to DevOps anyway. Yeah.
Well, I mean, where's the DevOps?
It's a local thing, but the video will be online.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's March 14th through the 17th at Pasadena Convention Center in Pasadena, California.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, makes sense, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know why that joke started and why we've not stopped on DO. Like, I don't know. We've made that joke probably like 30 times now.
Well, because it's funny. That's why.
Yeah, I wish I could remember like some of the in jokes that we do. I remember when we made them in what episode. That and a lot of them I don't. That one, no idea. My weak thumbs, whatever that means, no idea.
It's just one of those things, I think.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could remember them. I wish we had like a an archivist or something.
You got to run it through some sort of AI, right? It'll have it crunch it through.
No, I tried to do some AI today, and it was just take this time, and then subtract it from each other, and it couldn't do it.
Sweet. I guess our robot
ChatGPT 's
overlords
not
won't be
that great.
taking over too quickly here. Well, Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. There's shows like Fit and Fueled, Destination Linux, This Week in Linux.
That's right.
And then, of course, Linux
It's also
Out Loud.
there, yes. Mhm.
Yep.
Yes,
So,
of course.
And here. So thank you all for your support, however you do it. Being a part of this conversation in both the Zoom meeting here and in the YouTube stream, as well as for all of you that watch the show after the fact, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.
Bye.
Still love that Linux responsibly.
Bye.
Still love
Well, you
it.
have to. Yeah, you got to Linux responsibly.
The Linux Saloon
Yeah.
should not be considered financial advice. Please seek independent advice regarding financial
Yes, this is our
circumstances.
opinions
Yeah.
as entertainment value only. Only entertainment value.
I
not
don't
giving
think
advice.
I don't think we gave any financial advice. I wouldn't give anybody. It's like not like
It's the me.
No.
It's
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
also not a bad idea to say that anyway, just in case.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Also, by the way, this is our opinions and also alleged.